Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of Murder Moose. I'm here. Josh hurt himself, I think is what happened. He couldn't record. His back's all fucked up, it sounds like. So I'm here, and we're doing a makeup episode. This coming out like 4 days later than usual. But we're here doing an episode anyways. And as backup, I brought my friend, my good dude, Kyle from the Trick or Treaters podcast. What's up, my dude? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Rod. I'm happy you're bringing me on. I'm talking about this. It was a pretty fun watch. I was honestly shocked. Initially, like I saw it and I wrote it off. I was like, "Oh, this is not going to be good." And I was like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good."
Yeah. So we're gonna be I was originally doing with Josh a movie called Memories of Murder, and it was extremely hard to track that down for the average person. So we switched off, and me and Kyle are going to be talking about a movie today called Slaxx, which is a Shudder exclusive movie about a killer pair of pants, which sounds insane when you say it out loud, but it's actually executed pretty well, like Kyle's talking about. We, of course, are part of the Slash and Cast podcast network, just like Kyle and his shows is. I recorded an episode with Kyle, and Skype murdered his episode, so that episode will never be released because Kyle turned into the Peanuts adults, as I put it, through a lot of that episode, right? So we're gonna have to do that again. But Kyle, you guys have, I think we're pretty much on the same like kind of episode. I think that was your 26, and our episode before this is 27 for us. So
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been doing this about the same amount of time.
Yeah, I'll be recording 27 or 26 tomorrow with Lane, where we'll be doing a Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, that's nice, man. I saw you guys were doing that, and I'm like, hell yeah. I haven't watched Devil's Rejects in fucking years. I don't think I've it's been a long time.
It was fun, dude. It was fun getting revisited. I'm looking forward to talking about it. And I just recently met Bill Moseley for the first time.
Yeah,
at a horror convention yesterday.
I saw your pictures. I was like, that's fucking dope, man. It's funny because like the Devil's Rejects was such the critically acclaimed success it was, but like it also, it came off of House of a Thousand Corpses, which had praise but didn't praise near the critics were way more divided on that compared to Devil's Rejects. But that movie, if you go watch it now, it has like two really big stars in it, in Chris Hardwick and Rainn Wilson, and it's like that. I think we're complete nobodies when that movie was shot, right? It was like,
I know, right?
Chris Hardwick in that movie doesn't look anything like Chris Hardwick looks like, but like, he's also one of those guys who like, that dude kind of got Me Too'd pretty hard a couple of years ago, right? And so it was like, yeah, you're just like, oh, it's all that stuff that you goes, it sucks appreciating people and then figuring out that they've done shitty stuff. So tell everyone. I mean, I assume if you've listened to this podcast, you know what your podcast is, but like, tell people kind of what you guys are about and what you're doing. I always appreciate like the in-depth. You guys drop real precise pieces of knowledge, which I always I always appreciate with you guys and your with your Twitter and your show and everything like that. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Ours, the Trick or Treaters podcast. We do a weekly. We're a weekly horror podcast. We pretty much just pick a movie each week and do a review on it. And like Rod was saying, I'm a big fan of like just fun trivia behind films or little things throughout the film, especially if it's like callbacks to other things and just stuff like that. And so I'll look into all that and talk about all that during the review or beforehand or anything like that.
It's especially because I know you guys do a lot of. I mean, you guys don't do exclusively like bigger things, but like you're talking about like a lot of more well-known horror movies. Like it seems like it's easier to get tracked down that cool piece, like, because all that shit gets documented. I always tell you beforehand, I'm like, nothing that we ever talk about. I mean, we've talked about a little bit that's like bigger, but like most of the things we talk about are so like they're either completely foreign and we can't even pronounce the names of half the people, or they're like these Canadian indies that no one's ever heard of. So it's harder to do, but like I appreciate that because it gives you that connection with that kind of, you know, with the thing movies people love, right? So
yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just kind of try to pick stuff out that'll be fun to talk about and stuff that won't be too hard to find, especially for my co-host.
Yeah.
But I know I'll do mostly like foreign films and like, you know, stuff that you said like was hard to find. I did appreciate that y'all. I believe it was y'all. You did an episode on Freaky, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. So that was. We did Freaky because Freaky was we ended up missing an episode because I was real sick. Like I'm pretty sure I had COVID at some point, and the next week when I was like alive again, we ended up like talking about 2 movies, including Freaky, and Freaky was. It's funny because Happy Death Day is one of my wife loves that movie, the first one. She likes the second one a lot too, but she loves the first one.
I did too. Yeah. I'm a fan of that series.
Those movies are, it's another one of those things where I know I've talked about it and then like you've talked about it. It's like that connection between horror and comedy, right? Like we have all these like comedy stars who do horror stuff or dive into horror. You look at what do you call him? Jordan Peele and what he's doing with horror, and he started this comedy background. We got Kenny Powers doing all the stuff he's doing with like the Alien movies and like Halloween now. So it's like, you got
Chris Rock coming up with Spiral.
I'm really interested to see what that turns into and what like how
the trailer honestly looks more like Seven than it does Saw. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think that turning that kind of universe into a thriller universe I think it's a cool way to go because like the first Saw movie is really kind of a thriller horror movie, right? It has gore in it, but like most of it's not about that. Like I think that got a lot of attention because of it was kind of the beginning of what we became known as torture porn, right? But that movie really.
I hate that it got that stigma because like that's one of the films I wish I could like see for the first time again.
Yeah,
I remember watching that and I was just like blown away by the ending.
Oh, dude, that movie. So I don't know if I've told it on the podcast, but I tell people the story all the time. Like I watched a movie on DVD with my 2 roommates, like my junior year of college, and they were all like pissy faced through most of it, and then the ending happened, and they were like, "Oh my god, I love it!" Because it's one of those movies where it's like, it's that movie. The ending of that movie kind of it's not like quite Sixth Sense level, but it's got that like holy shit, it kicks you in the dick kind of feeling, like right because you're like because you don't expect when Kramer gets up there, you're like, what the fuck, and it's just such a.
Yeah, I thought I'd had it figured out. And then, like it's sitting there going through everything. All of a sudden, he just gets up off the floor. I was like, "What?"
Yeah. You're like, because then just that music drop is so perfect, and it's just like, and then the door shutting, and it's just like that whole sequence of events there in that like real short period is just like you're just like blown away, and it's like that when you hit someone that hard with the ending of a movie. It just shows you that like one, you don't need a lot of money to do a movie that like makes an impact, and 2, it just like it can be just that clever, well thought out execution that can make a movie feel perfect. And that movie is I mean, it's not Saw wasn't like Paranormal Activity level of cheap, right? But it was a cheap fucking movie. They didn't spend a whole lot of money on it. They had Danny Glover was in it. That was probably the biggest, expense in that whole thing. But it just was executed so perfectly. And that's why like independent horror, I feel like can often mean so much, because independent horror is people stretching their resources and like doing a lot of times just doing something they love in filmmaking, you know, in horror. And I think that like I feel like that this Slaxx movie was probably, I don't know if we have any kind of like, I don't even know how to see the budget for most of these movies, but like this movie doesn't feel like it had any kind of budget either, besides like weird CGI genes that are all over the movie, right? It like,
I'll see if I can find it.
yeah,
It's pretty cool. It was directed by a woman too, so
yeah,
like that's that's pretty cool too.
yeah. So if you don't, this movie's on Shudder, and Shudder has been they've been like dividing they have film categories like most streaming services do, right? But like since everything on their site is on their service is like horror and thriller kind of stuff, like it's all different horror things. And so not like lately, I think they started last month maybe even because of the women like all the women highlighting stuff that had been happening, and they do the directed by horror, and so this movie's in there, and like Revenge is in there, and there's some. Have you seen that movie Revenge? That is.
Yeah, I've seen Revenge. It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really fucking good.
It was another one that's French. I went on and did Apocalypse in review. And we did a French movie that was like entirely in English. There was like a couple lines of French at the beginning, but like it's interesting seeing these French movies because that movie's like 75% in English, and then like it hits things of French like throughout. But yeah, it's another one that's it's what Shudder's doing is curating the horror, like especially smaller stuff, and just doing such a great job with it. And this isn't, I was telling you before we started recording, like I haven't seen a bad Shudder like, you know, exclusive. I've seen things that I wasn't a huge fan of. Like I don't know if you watched it. The Shack was okay. Like I didn't love it, but like
Shack.
That's the where the guy. It was the one where the kid had like a vampire stuck in his shack.
The Shed.
Oh, the Shed, or whatever the fuck that was called. You see, the name is like, obviously, I'm like, yeah.
Hey, I liked it. I don't know.
It entertained me, but it wasn't like, it didn't stick. I can't even remember the fucking name of the goddamn movie. But it's funny because it's one of those things that Josh and I have talked about, and actually fucked us over at one point because all these like independent movies, or they're like you'll run into it like where there are other. I don't think we'll ever run into another Slaxx with 2 X's, but but like there's a lot of these movies that have kind of more generic titles, right? And you have to be real careful that you're like. Yeah. You and your co-host are like, you know, going into the right movie when you dive into this shit.
Yeah, I remember our first like actual movie review of the podcast. We'll host, and we had to keep like knowing that it was host from Shudder, not host or host. The old sci-fi film from years ago.
Yeah. That was one of the things that like it was. We did the host was our like practice episode, and we're sitting there and we're like, we that was one of the first times we were like, what the? There's like 8 billion copies of everything. That's just like, you know, like there's so like it's just when you have that one word. And by the way, The Host, which is a South Korean movie, is fantastic if you've never seen it. Josh and I have talked about it more than once on here, but it's very much like I compare it to a South Korean. Jaws. Like that movie seems like it was aiming to do Jaws, but like in an urban setting, and it is truly lovely if you like that kind of movie. But yeah, so this movie is Slaxx.
I can't find any kind of budget on this. I've been looking for the budget, like because you said you couldn't find one. I've been looking everywhere. I can't find it.
Yeah,
it does. Ironically, it does. It has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Damn. So it's funny, man. We like I listened to Andy and Brian talk about the last Godzilla movie, right? The King of Monsters, right? Yeah. And they were talking about how like different the critic score and audience score was, and I laughed at him because I laughed at them because I was like, man, you need to check. We did The Stylist a little bit ago, and that movie is literally like 97% like critics and like 30 something percent for audience. Like that's how diverse the like the difference between the two things it was. And I'm like, it's crazy like how like some of these movies can be like that. Cause this has like a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb. And I don't know, it's out of 914 rankings. And I'm like, who's giving this movie like a 5 out of 10? Like, I don't get it. Like, so I'll read the synopsis here real quick. It says, when a possessed pair of jeans begins to kill the staff of a trendy clothing store, it is up to Libby, an idealistic young sales clerk, to stop its bloody rampage. And that is it's a pretty precise version of it. It doesn't go into a lot of the details of it. And Kyle, we'll do a non-spoilery version, and then we could spoil it afterwards. We usually go like halfway or something like that. But
Okay.
But because we do a lot of newer things, right? So we don't want to, like, if people want to listen and don't, have things spoiled and go,
Yeah.
So this was directed by, you said, a woman named Elza Kephart, is that her name? And it's it's all Canadian, like you were saying. It's a Canadian thing. The clothing store in the movie is called the CCC, the Canadian Cotton. What was that last word of that name of the fucking store? I don't know if I could think of the name of it, but and they're basically this like idealistic company that basically sells their brand as they don't have GMO anything, and they don't use like under like what do you call it? Not slave labor, but like child labor. Yeah. And it's like this idealistic company that that's the way he said, the idealistic young sales clerk wanted to work here because it's like they're all like, we're gonna save the government or save the world and do all this shit, and you're just like, oh, I mean, that's one of those things. And it actually kind of comes across like early on in the movie as a cult kind of thing, like where they're like, one of us, like they're just so into it. I don't know about you. It kind of reminded me of The Gap the entire time, like that I was watching it. Like the store itself kind of reminded me of The Gap or something like that. Because it's like bright and like it also is like it just kind of hysterical because it seems like there's like 5 items in the store and they're all just different colors like compared to everything. But yeah, I'm like, how many, like, this girl has to wear everything in the so they like at the very beginning of the movie, or not to spoil it, she like is this girl's like first day at this place, and they're like, oh, okay, you're working, and they were like setting up this like launch of these new pants, and they're like, okay, but you have to wear this is the part that cracked me up. They're like, you have to wear our clothing whenever you're here, but you also have to wear it whenever you're not here. They're like telling her she can't not wear their clothing when she's not at work.
Yeah, apparently employees have like it's like a once a week or once a month like mandatory clothing, like a purchase where like they have to buy a piece of clothing from that store.
Yeah, I think they were like she's like, they're like, you need to be in season. She's like, you're like, with our current clothes. She's like, I bought this last month, and the guy's like, that was 3 seasons ago or something. Like,
what?
It's mocking all this stuff, right? It's like mocking the fashion industry.
It's basically a satire on the fashion industry.
Yeah, and then which is done very well with you're sitting there going, okay, you have a company that is like releasing these pants that is like so like all it does is make your ass look good, but it's
supposed to be like inclusive.
Yeah, it's like gender inclusive. Like they're like, it's completely like going out there and like not kind of poking fun of it, like what's happening in our culture right now and like how everything is. It's not like, it's not making fun of any of that stuff, but it's like making fun of like how these companies use all this stuff to like sell shit to people, right? Like it's how it's they know the keywords and the taglines they need to use to sell to like the youth, and like our main character Libby, who like is so like buys every ounce of bullshit this company is selling out, and you go, because then people come in and they, what do they say at some point, that like a pair of jeans there costs like $150 or something, 170
like
bucks.
that,
Yeah, it's like,
what the hell?
dude, I know jeans are expensive, but I'm just like, I've been married for a long time now, and it's like women's stuff is even worse with like, that's why the whole like jeans that will make anyone look good thing is kind of hysterical. But it's funny because like they have all these different characters like putting on the same pair of jeans at points in this movie, and you're like, but these girls are like not. There's no way the same pair of pants would fit these girls.
Yeah.
they're like not the same. Like guys wear generic pants that are just up and down that like can fit different people, but like women have like 8 different layers of what their like curves and everything mean and like whatnot, and so there's no way these different women are all wearing these damn jeans, but it's the funny part of it, right? But you get into this like and this is the plot, and that's kind of what happens. Like the synopsis goes off a bit. You have a pair of jeans, and I went into this going, I don't know how this is not going to be entirely like hokey, but a pair of jeans killing people, I was like, I'm going to give it a chance, because the one, like I said, it was like, this movie is only an hour and 17 minutes long, 77 minutes long, which is a real short watch for like horror. I mean, it's a real short watch for movies, right? I think the last time I saw a movie that was shorter than this was Host. We talk about Host again, so which was only like 50
something minutes.
Yeah.
It's the exact length of a Zoom call. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's another genius thing about that movie that's so well done. But
yeah,
I think that's one of the things that people in our like nowadays, that it just makes horror is one of those things that doesn't feel like it's gonna like sit there and try to make you watch a 2.5-hour movie, like which I have a hard time doing at times,
Yeah, it's not going to end game us.
Yeah,
give us a 3-hour movie,
dude. I've been wanting to rewatch or watch the Suspiria, the American version, like at some point. And this morning I went to Amazon and I'm like, maybe I'll watch that. And I looked at it, and when it was like, or yesterday or something, and I'm like, it's 2.5 hours. I'm like, nope, that's not gonna happen right this second. I'm like, not now. I was like, nope, not gonna happen. My wife is coming home, and I'm like, I just don't have the time and or patience to watch a 2.5-hour movie right now. So, yeah.
I remember trying to when we had to review it, try to get through Bram Stoker's Dracula. And like, oh my god, dude, I was like falling asleep at some point. I was like, okay,
it's really long,
really
isn't it?
Dragging on.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen really that movie in a long time, and even if I like,
it's really long. The beginning is really, really tough to get through.
Yeah,
but it really picks up in the second half.
Yeah, well, that's I remember reading that book as a kid, and that book is kind of slow to start off, right, and then it's like it picks up, but.
Not to mention this like Keanu Reeves like worst movie. He's terrible in that movie.
Yeah, but then you have Gary Oldman being awesome, right? So like as Dracula. So that was another one of those things where it was like that you go Johnny Depp, or he could have turned, or not Johnny Depp. God damn it, my brain just fried. What do you call him?
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves could have turned into Nick Cage at that. Like that's like how bad that seemed like that was gonna be. So.
Oh yeah.
So the non-spoiler part of this, I was impressed with, because they kind of kept the pants from being like they didn't show you too much at first, right? Which is always nice. They kind of like had him, like the first kill is pretty like intense, but like
it's pretty intense.
Yeah, they do it in this way that
I love.
Go ahead.
How bloody and gory it is. Like, like as soon as I saw the first kill, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like this.
Yeah, I was impressed, because I was like, because I think the trailer shows like that YouTuber, whatever,
Yeah.
what happens to her a little bit, but it's you don't expect that first when you're like, what the fuck, and then they do a really good job of like probably going. I don't know how well we can show some of this stuff, like this, especially like the second kill. I think of where like they don't show like the blow that kills this girl. But they just showed like the real good angle, and it's like, again, horror is the same thing with everything. Less can be more, especially when you can't like show everything, and you're doing a ridiculous movie where a pair of fucking pants is running around killing people. And so like, I think that like the review when they find that the first kill's body, it's wonderful. You're like, what the fuck?
And
You just like
greatest thing ever.
they're just like it looks like they shoved a bunch of like prosthetic organs like in the like thing like in the bottom or whatever, and you're like, oh man, they were just having a good time.
Yeah, but what's even better about that is like when they find them and you hear their dialogue. At one point when I first heard it, I was like, okay, well that was kind of stupid. I don't know, that was kind of poorly written. And then later on, another scene happens in the movie, and you get the big picture of what they were trying to entail with that and what they said, and you're like, okay, this is fucking genius.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like they do a real good job of like having these kind of over the top stereotype characters, but also like keeping it like kind of like tied to reality, because like when you tie why everything's happening through the movie, you go, oh shit, and it's like it ties everything together. You have these like all these people who are only looking out for themselves, and it just ties everything in this whole like way better than I thought it was going to, right? And it has some scenes that are truly like are bloody and brutal, and you're like, holy fuck, something that you don't and you don't expect it going in, because it's like it's a pair of pants. How could it be? I know we had there was that Dress movie that came out like last year, or I think it was last year, with the lady was wearing that dress that was trying to kill her or something like that. Do you know about that movie? I haven't seen it.
I don't think so.
It actually got like the Dress movie got pretty like, it was basically like a possessed or haunted dress or something, I think was the concept. And it got like pretty good like critical reviews and everything like that. So it's just like that you can do something crazy obscene out there, and if you execute it and you put humor in it and you do all this stuff that's like you don't really expect in a like a crazy off the wall concept, it could still work, and it can still, I mean, be something cool and special, right?
Oh yeah.
So I always think of things like Rubber, which I need to go back and actually watch at some point, because I think the first time I watched it, I was not in the right mind frame. And that movie, you have to be in the right mind frame if you don't. So have you watched Rubber?
I think I've seen some of it. I don't think I actually sat down and actually watched it.
Yeah.
All together, but like when it comes to, like movies like this, I have seen like some of these that are pretty out there, and I actually enjoyed them. I was shocked. Like one day, like when the pandemic like first started, I was like just bored scrolling through TV trying to find something to watch. I was like, you know what? I've never watched these. I'm gonna give them a chance. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna put them on. I watched Sharknado. I watched all 6 movies. I had a blast.
Yeah,
I had a blast watching these.
There's a reason why those movies got as much like I think I made it through 3 or 4 of them, but like I think when they went to space or something like that, I was
it got a little crazy.
Yeah. But like those movies are just fun. Yeah, they're fun. Like
it's like they know what they are.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what matters, man. Like if you have a bad movie that knows, or like a hokey premises, and you kind of embrace it, and just you don't try to be something like, don't try to make a movie that's about killer pants and act like it's like going to determine everyone, like it's gonna change the world, and like it's like Shakespearean writing. You just have fun with the concept, and you do like cool things and make it like just put effort in the movie, and you could do cool stuff. But like it's bad movies that try to act like they're serious, that or try to make things that like they're just like, no, you're not, no, don't do that. And That's why this movie is so successful, because it knows what it is, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it also is making cool points and like in tying a story together, and like in basically ends up being kind of like a ghost story, right? And like in the way it executes is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's
and
great.
oh yeah, and I will say, like, as someone who works retail, unfortunately,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie even more because if you work retail or have ever worked retail,
Yeah.
you'll understand
Yeah.
everything that's
Yep.
going on.
Yep. I worked at Best Buy in high school, and yeah, I worked there for like a year before I got myself shit canned. But like,
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing where you know the kind of environment you're in, and like the what happens and how these
yeah,
managers are, and like how they'll like make you work crazy hours to get ready for something. Like it's like I said, they're doing a release for this new line of pants, and you're just like, damn, what are you going to make people do for a release of
yeah.
pants? And
I didn't understand like why they were doing the whole lock-in thing.
yeah,
That was kind of weird.
it seemed like a yeah. So there's, again, this is like it's a minor thing, so it's not, but we're not spoiling it. They lock the characters in the store, and like so that they can't. They're, I think it's trying to prevent these new genes from getting out, because they're like, they must have like again, they're like so in demand that they bring
Yeah,
this YouTube sensation in who does like fashion stuff. Like, I was so confused the first time they showed the girl, like they had showed her
yeah.
YouTube segment. I'm like, why are they doing this? And they tie it back into like bring her in to do a release of these pants, right?
But it's also like what's great about this, because like, this movie, like I said, it's a satire on the fashion industry and stuff, and just retail in general. It also is kind of making fun of influencers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
She's, yeah, YouTube influencer in this is completely over the top and ridiculous, and you're like, why is, but then you think about it, you think about YouTube stars, you think about like people who are doing insane crazy shit, and you go, oh, okay, that this is just right up the alley of someone who would be doing something crazy like this. And it makes, it's, again, it's satire with it, but it's having fun with it, and just being like goofy and over the top, because it just, again, your movie is based on a pair of pants killing people and doing it well, and it's so funny. Like I think my, like, there are parts of this movie where you're just like, oh my god, that's genius, because
yeah,
it it just, again, you're sitting there doing something where you're going, this is about pants killing people, but like, again, it just, you go at it with the right attitude and the right, this this director, Elza Kephart, is like, manages to mix humor, the gore, everything, and just like,
yeah.
and it's great, and the actors are all awesome. I was telling you beforehand, like the guy who runs the company, the CCC company, you had said he plays he was also named
He was
Harold.
Harold in American Psycho.
Yeah. And he was Beverly's dad in It Chapter 1, which, if you remember, is the
Yeah,
fucking creepy ass motherfucker who was like
yeah.
like I don't remember the book as much, because I read the book when I was a little kid. I was like 11 when I read that book, but
Damn, he probably shouldn't have read it then.
yeah, I probably, there's a lot more how I ended up here
Uh,
where I am right now, but
yeah.
um
That
he
book has some fucked up shit in it.
yeah, well, dude, that's what the fucked up part about it is, that, like, people don't know who haven't read the book. Like, there's real fucked up shit in that movie. Like, Beverly at the end of the first, like, with them being kids, gets gang banged by the rest of the kids. Like, which,
Yeah, the book. Yeah,
yeah,
in order for them to find their way through the sewers.
yeah,
Like,
you're like,
what?
and they kind of switched that into the, like, the can cutting scene at the end of
Yeah.
the new it movie, Chapter 1. But man, you're like, you're talking about like 11-year-olds or 12-year-olds or whatever they are,
Yeah.
like, fucking, and it's just like, oh, it's no, and yeah,
Again, but again, Stephen King was like, high on cocaine
Yep.
throughout the entire
Oh yeah, he was
voyage.
high. That's you ever hear about him doing that movie he directed? Like he was like coked out the entire time. What was that movie called? It was where the machines came back and killed were like killing people. What the fuck was that movie called?
Uh, the
Where like
one.
it was like machines came by, like came to life and started killing everyone, and it was the only thing he ever directed, and he was saying about how coked out he was the entire
Oh,
time.
oh, oh! I fucking love that movie, even though
Uh,
it's terrible.
uh,
Maximum Overdrive.
is yeah okay. I
Uh,
I kept thinking of because Steven Spielberg had a movie he directed that was about
uh,
Killer the truck, right? But like, yeah, it's Maximum Overdrive, which has that like I think the most memorable image from it is the truck that's like got the Green Goblin
it's
on it.
got the Green Goblin. Yeah,
Yeah. So
and a guy gets killed by a fucking soda machine in that movie.
which makes me laugh because I think of now of Archer where the guy gets killed by like a soda machine hitting him and like crushing him and his like organs coming out. Yeah, but the guy Harold Lansgrove, who's like the owner of this company, the CCC, he's like this actor and he's only in it for a little bit, but the store is filled with like all the actors do a really good job of like being like playing these I don't give a fuck attitudes of everything and
Yeah, that's what I liked about it is that these actors played retail workers who are just like hate their jobs and are depressed and just, hate where they're at like
yeah.
so well.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny because then you have this manager, like Craig is like the store manager who's trying to
Yeah,
be like a district. He wants to be a district manager. You're just like, oh, but he's like everything in this movie. He's like, people start disappearing because the pants are killing him. And he's like freaking the fuck out because he's like, if I don't get this stuff done, I'm never going to get this promotion. And it drives him to kind of lose his shit. And it's like,
yeah,
it's all believable because it's like, man, it's over the top, but it's believable. So dude, I really like this movie.
did too.
I think if you have Shudder, you like goofy horror. I think most people who have Shudder are down with horror in general, right? It's your wide variety of horror if you're into Shudder because that's
Oh
all
yeah,
Shudder is. So I would go
yeah.
definitely go watch this,
I found some. Yeah, I found some like really crazy stuff
dude.
on Shutter, especially watching Joe Bob's Drive-In.
Yeah,
Like the last one I watched, I had never seen it before, and they showed it. It was in the T Rex,
yeah.
and I
Tammy and the T-Rex.
fucking love that
I
movie.
that's on my list of things I see. The problem is I think I told you this. I ended up playing Magic on Friday nights and then like with
Yeah,
my buddies and then online. And so like that's when that show's on. I need to go back and watch like dive
yeah.
into it.
You can go back. They all the new episodes show up on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
For the drive-in.
Yeah. That's one of those things I
And like
need to
here
get
in a
get
couple
into.
weeks, season 3 is fixing to start.
Yeah. Well, I know what do you call it just started on Shudder 2, the season 2 of Creep Show.
Oh, Creep Show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I've only watched I watched the Christmas episode they did, before season 2, and where the people were all like werewolves and werepigs and shit like that, and Santa Claus was coming to kill them, and that was entertaining as fuck. And so yeah. So if you have Shudder, you obviously are into that kind of thing. And if you're interested in horror and listen to us bullshit about this, yeah, go check it out because the movie is great. So we're gonna spoil it. This movie came out. What does it say? It says like the
Came out in
18th of March.
2020.
Yeah,
Yeah.
originally in Canada. In the US, we got it the 18th of March this year. So it's not been out very long, which is why it's like I like talking about this stuff so people dive in because I feel like not everyone's gonna be like, I'm gonna watch a movie about a killer pair of pants. so
Right?
so yeah, this is spoil the shit out of it. I mean, there's not all that much more to it that's like, but like the characters and like the kills and stuff, I think is really what I want to talk to you about. Like with that. So yeah,
There's some great stuff in there.
yeah,
I saw I read a thing where apparently the reason that they made this was that it was more like of a joke. The director was like on a car ride with some friends, and they were talking about words that like make that they don't like hearing like moist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this guy that was in the car, he hates the word slack. So they kept saying Slaxx over again to get on his nerves, and that's how they came to the idea for this.
That's so funny because like the thing with that is like it's called Slaxx, but like they never say the word Slaxx in the movie, right? It's like it's
never.
It's the jeans, and it's like I think there's like
Yeah.
It's like a very metal kind of poster, right? Like it's this girl wearing the jeans, and you can't from the back you just see her ass, and you don't see like, it doesn't look like she's wearing any clothes other than that. So it's like kind of that like provocative ad for like jeans that you could actually see people making, but then with that metal slacks across her back, and it's like, oh, they just had fun doing this.
The tagline is an ass to die for.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's like how they sell these jeans. Like, and it's like in the movie, they're like, you see the previews for it, and they're like, it will make anyone look better. Like ass, like it doesn't matter if you're 5 pounds overweight or 5 pounds underweight. These jeans will make your ass look amazing. And it's like, oh my god, because it's taking these like real fashion industry stuff like you're talking about and just going, yeah, this is like ridiculous, and we're gonna go a little bit further with it. And yeah, I really laughed like when I was kind of hoping. So like the pants start killing people, right? And they have the 2 S's like for the like super shapers is what
super shaper.
Yeah, or what they called. And
the 2 S's thing was weird because I was like, is that not a Nazi symbol?
Yeah, yeah, the SS, yeah. You're like, but I think that's part of the thing too, that they're just like embracing the like the lunacy, like the lunacy, like the insanity of this. I can't talk, but they have the 2 S's on the back that do look like the SS from the Nazis a little bit, but it's whenever the pants kill someone, it's like an experience bar in a video game where like one of them fills up with bread.
Yeah, they never really explained that either. I don't think.
Well, I was like, is it gonna hit 4 and like go Super Saiyan pants or something?
What the hell is going on? Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is like, why are they, okay, I'm going with it. I'm watching a movie about killer pants, but I'm like, it's, so then
one of my favorite scenes is like when the girl finds the body of the first who gets killed, of Libby finds her body, and then she gets the manager, and they're just in there looking, and Libby's talking about, hey, shouldn't we tell somebody there's a killer on the loose? Oh, you think there's a killer on the loose? And then it cuts to that body, and she's like, all guts are hanging out, all like flipped around, like it's pretty obvious someone did it. There's no way she could have done that to herself. And she's like, yeah.
He's like, at some point the manager is named Craig. He's like, oh man, it's so dark and depressing world we live in that this girl felt like she couldn't have, like, this was her only out. It's like, how do you think she killed herself and cut herself in half and put her under the sink of it's like, oh my god, because it's, and then he sits there and he takes this girl. So the girl basically, Libby, our main character, is like starting at the store just to help go this overnight things. Like they won't even give her employee discount, even though she's working, which is bullshit.
Such a fucking dick move. And she was just like, yeah, hey, I start today. Yeah, but your shift don't start till 12:01, so you have to spend, you don't get your 50%. Yeah, like she buys they force her to buy like new clothes because of what we were talking about before, where it's like you have to be in season, and so she has to spend $170, and she's like a little too happy about it because she's still happy about working for this place. But one of the other women that works there steals a pair of these super shapers and like puts them on, and like her friend's like, oh, you're not doing and it's like, this girl does not give any fucks. Like, and I laugh because it's all the shit that are happening in these kind of stores. Like her friend, who, not the one who puts on the jeans first, but her friend's like fucking one of the sales boys, like in the back room. They like talk about and shit like that. And you're like, oh my god, all this stuff. So she puts these jeans on. When she puts them on, they basically like tighten so much that like it
like pulls their organs out and shit like
It's
that, right?
fucking insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they do a really good job of like of just like showing enough of what they're doing and not like because obviously that's like an insane like what they're doing would have probably taken way more of a budget and so they cut like they just have blood flowing everywhere and then the pants I don't know why the pants did this either but I laughed every time I did it like the pants would kill someone and then like start sucking up the blood like a like like a vampire or something like that. You're like,
Yeah,
you're
what
like
the fuck?
it's like putting it's like where you put your legs in is like the mouth of the pants basically, and they would like go in and like start slurping it up, but like they would kill someone and leave no evidence behind like at all.
Yeah.
So
It's like they slurped up all the blood. But, I was wondering like where the hell why wasn't the blood like on the pants?
yeah,
And the only thing I could think of, unless they're like absorbing it through like the cotton of the jeans or something, like I
yeah.
don't know.
It's the portal to hell or whatever that the cotton like the
Yeah.
kind of these jeans are. Yeah, because when you figure it out, you're like, well, then how? I don't know, but they this
Uh,
when the girl they I don't know what were we gonna say.
like one of the things that was a big what the fuck to me. Did you notice like the racial segregation there was in this store?
Yeah,
Like, if you look at this store, there's a poster of an Asian girl of an Asian girl model. And then the person working that section of the store is Asian. And
yeah,
then on the opposite end, a black model, and then there's a black girl working that section.
yeah. It
And
was
it's like, what the fuck?
yeah, and it was really like they very did this. They did this all on purpose. It feels like because then they were like all the clothes were all like it looked like the same item just in this like one color like over and over again, right? Like there's racks of yellow and racks of green, and but there was like 5 different like basic colors, and you're like, yeah, they're just pointing shit out like that. It's just like how insane all of this is. They were.
Yeah.
I don't even think I noticed that as much before. Like I kind of like I thought I was like, huh, are they doing something? And then you saying it right now is like, oh yeah, yeah, yep, they definitely did that.
It's great too because it plays more into the what they're trying to tell with like this is like a company that's progressive on the surface, but once you peel back the surface, they're really dark
Yeah.
and just fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's the shit where it's like they're selling you this load of bullshit to people like the main character Libby, who's like oh, I'm gonna save the world. Like it's these young like hopeful teenagers that like are gonna spend $170 on like a pair of jeans like they talked about. So yeah,
Another thing like that the jeans the thing one of the things that the jeans do is a great metaphor for like just marketing in general.
yeah,
Is like there'll be times where somebody will walk by and the symbol will like they'll look at the symbol and it'll hypnotize them to put the jeans on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because
That's great.
Well, that's kind of like they kind of use it to explain like the first girl you completely believe is this asshole who steals these jeans and puts them on. But you're like, why would the other girl kind of gave a shit about it. And then you kind of see as she's like, the second girl's kind of like trying to be responsible. But then when she finds the jeans after the first girl gets murdered and like decides to put them on anyways. And you're like, what? And you're like, why would you? Okay. And she goes into the stall and like, she trips and like she starts putting on the jeans and does a really good job of like the actress does a really good job of like this like it's just like tightening up around her ankles or something and you're like what is happening and it makes her trip and fall and puts her face through a coat hanger and like the wall rack where you would hang clothes while you're sitting in this like store trying stuff on and you're like ow. And that's kind of what I was referring to earlier. Like you don't see her head go through it. You know it's there because like she falls back and you're like, and then her body's just like hanging there, like with her feet off the ground. You're like, ooh. And I think it's like that thing where it's like you're using your imagination about how fucked up that is. And you're like, oh, because it reminds me of what was that movie? That's a movie years ago. I don't know if you ever saw it where those guys went to that they were on like a bachelor party in Vegas, and they killed a stripper on accident, like doing the same. But one of the guys is fucking her, and then like puts like backs up into a wall with her, and she like gets impaled on one of those things and dies. And it's like Daniel Stern's in it, and Christian Slater's in it, and stuff like that. And it's the whole movie is like them trying to get rid of this body and then turning on each other. I can't think of the fucking name of the movie,
Oh
but
wow.
so yeah, it's out. It's like black comedy. That movie was.
Yeah.
So this girl gets impaled, and then they never like, was that body in that pile of bodies they found later on in the movie, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah, because they don't show her like they find the first girl's body who like the jeans cut in half. When we were talking about earlier, they open up the cabinet under the sink because her hair is sticking out of the sink. Like that's how Libby finds it. Because like Craig, the manager's like, go find these two, because they couldn't, like, he's like on this pressure, like they can't. The one thing I really didn't get about the whole lock-in thing, like I understand they're not trying to get people like out overnight or whatever because of this thing, but they had no cell, like they were like cell phone blocking too or something insane like that. They couldn't like, yeah. So
they didn't want anybody taking like a picture and posting on social media.
Yeah, which is hysterical, because then they set up this whole thing where this YouTube social influencer is going to come in and check out these jeans like at midnight, but there's only for an hour. Like they giving her an hour to come in, like between 12 and 1, where the doors unlock, let her in, and then lock when she leaves. But what's funny is when they find this body, Craig and Libby, Craig is like, okay, we'll deal with this in the morning, and just like puts her body in like a moving dumpster thing and just puts her in the back of this hallway, and you're like,
but what's great is that is the message they're trying to tell with that. That's one of the things I loved about this, because like when they initially find her and they go through the dialogue, I was like, well, okay, that was kind of a stupid scene. But then when they put her in the trash can, they take her to the hallway and they dump her, and you see her hand fall out, and then they put it back, and then as they're walking back, Libby goes back and looks under the tarps of the other things, and it's just like all these mannequin parts.
Yeah,
and I love that, because it's like they're basically saying these employees are just disposable mannequins to them.
Yeah.
But they're just so replaceable.
Yeah, that's why you're like, this Craig guy is like, if you were a real human being and you were really cared about people, like which managers are supposed to, you would have been like freaking out and like doing whatever you could to like
seriously, if you're just even a normal human being, you're just gonna be like, huh?
Yeah.
The fucking dead girl. What do here?
Yeah, exactly. And you're sitting there going, okay, I mean, and that's where it's
he
like,
wasn't even fazed by it. He was like, huh? Well, we'll deal with this later. Okay, we can't deal with this right now.
Yeah, because this guy, the only thing that matters to him isn't like it's having this successful launch the next day, so he could get this district manager job, and you're like, you're gonna deal with like a dead body. Like you're doing so many things wrong here that like you're breaking the law. How many times you're moving a body? You're doing all these things that are just like completely fucked up. Like. And yet here we are, because like him moving the body is like you're like fucking up evidence of a crime scene and shit like that. But so they're like dealing with this, and while all this is happening, the social influencer girl comes in, and she's like recording this video, but they tell her you can't release this till 8:00, and she like loses her fucking mind. But she's like, oh, my people want this so bad, and they're like, oh, then you're just gonna like get them on anticipation, which is true. Like when people have to wait longer for shit, they like lose their goddamn mind, right? But she goes in this dressing room and is like recording this video, and the jeans come up, wrap around her neck, and then just like snap her head to the side, and you're like, oh, they don't even give a fuck now. They're just killing people out in the open because the cameraman's there and everything like that.
They just like go on a fucking rampage.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that happens, and then like this is like when the jeans just like kill everyone, right? Because like there was like
yeah.
there's the gap in between here, like Libby and Craig dealing with all this shit in the back, and this influencer girl coming in, and no, like every employee besides her, like the Indian girl. What's her name in here? I don't even know if I could find it, but yeah, it's Shruti. I think Shruti is her name. I think, who is like on break when all of it happens. Like there's no one else. Like they come back out and everyone's gone, and the only reason they know what happened is because of the camera. So they watch it back and like this girl getting murdered and it's like, damn, how did this pair of pants murder everyone? And like couldn't figure out, like nobody could get out of the, could do whatever. And you're like, holy fuck. And it gets even more fucked up later on. Right. But, so they, the Indian girl comes back out and is like, there's this joke where the Libby says like, oh, I really love Bollywood music or whatever. And they turn it into a joke where they, if you sing Bollywood music to the pants, they start dancing and can't like not dance. And it's like it's probably one of the funnier scenes in the movie because the girl's like sitting there listening to her music and the pants are behind her. She doesn't know they're behind her and they're just like doing this dance to it. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, cause you don't know, like, right. You don't know where the pants have come from yet.
Yeah, it makes more sense when they finally reveal like the actual story of what's going on.
Yeah. So it like this is like then they try to go hide in the back with Craig, who has locked himself into a fucking the like manager's office, and it's like the only door that locks. And when they do, they the pants have put themselves on a mannequin, like a full mannequin, and like put the I don't know the name of it. The dot that the Hindi people wear on their head. The pants are in a mannequin and have put like the Hindi dot on its head. And you're like, they start communicating with it. The Shruti talks to it in Hindi, and they finally figure out what's happening. So the pants are basically like the ghost of this girl who was 13 years old in India and was picking cotton for them. And like they're breaking age restrictions that they said they weren't, and like all acting like they were all on this high horse, this CCC company, and they're not. They're just scumbags. Like that's what Craig says at one point. He's like, or maybe Shruti says it. How do you think they make a $20 pair of pants and sell it for $170? Like you're like, it doesn't add up. Like with all these like high horse morals they're trying to act like they're on. This 13-year-old girl was like picking cotton for him in this field, and took the cotton into like the big sifter, and tripped and fell, or her part of her outfit got pulled in. Right.
I think part of her outfit. Got pulled in, yeah.
And got fucking brutalized, dude. It's like you think of like some giant piece of machinery just like pulling in this little girl, this 13-year-old girl, and just blood everywhere. You know what I mean? Again, they do a really good job of just like showing you enough to get you go, holy fuck, and not like they don't show any body parts or anything. It's just blood, right? And the cotton, like that blood and cotton like look is real. I would say like that's why like like if you ever seen Dead Snow, the I think it's a Norwegian zombie movie, but like that red and Snow. That red and white contrast is so striking. So great, yeah, it's like that's why I want a real Friday the 13th movie in the snow, because it would be. It's a cool
just that opening of Never Hawk in the Snow was amazing.
Yeah. There's scenes we talked about Thirst a while back, which is a South Korean vampire movie, and they have a scene where it's like they paint this whole upper room, this house, white, and so then blood gets splattered all over it, and it's just that striking visual.
It's like on the 30 Days at Night. The vampires are in
my wife and I to this day, every time we see an Alaskan car, we go, it's vampires.
Antarctica. I can't remember. It's something like that.
It's Alaska. Yeah, it's Alaska.
Yeah.
so they get this whole story from like the mannequins basically writing. They takes a, I don't know how it did it with how much like, but it's writing on the wall in Hindi. Like the mannequin has like one of the hands of the people it's murdered,
Yeah,
and
fucking blood.
yeah, it is like writing out. I'm like, how do you keep? Where's all the blood coming from that you're writing this with? But and they it explains the whole story out, and you go, oh man, that's fucked up, especially because of this company and all its high horse moral bullshit. And but the girl's like, well, if we get like your story out, will you like stop? And it agrees basically, right? And so they go out and they're gonna like get the story from this thing with a camera, and then the dumbass Craig, the manager, like
Mhm.
sprays it with a fire
Fire.
extinguisher
Yeah.
and basically gets everyone killed at this point because the this is when the pants all like Craig tries to lock the two girls in the back, and then this is when Shruddy dies, like gets taken out. But they then you figure out all the pants, like all these super shaper jeans, are actually like possessed by this girl, and they all there's like a march. It's like, like I almost wanted like some like Disney song as these pants are coming out because it's like it kind of has that like like that inanimate object in a Disney movie thing coming to life. But they all march out, and this is all like Craig gets murdered by the jeans too, and you're like,
When Craig gets killed, it's great.
yeah, you're like, fuck this dude. You're like, it's always that's why it's always satisfying having asshole characters in horror movies. So when they get taken out, you're like,
Hmm.
yes. And this
So
Craig,
brutally.
how does he even die again? What happened to him?
Ripped his fucking like skin off and
Oh yeah,
shit.
oh yes, they
Yeah.
yeah. So they all swarm him, and like you don't see anything, and you come back and he's got like no skin. His eyeballs are poking out. You're like, that's
I don't even know how they do that. Like, what on the gene causes that?
yeah. I don't know, but I loved it. Yeah, and so and this is all happening, and like Libby's coming out, and like she's like, oh no, but like she tries to stop the doors from opening because all these people are wanting to come in and buy these jeans, right? Because like, I think this is like their first store to have these super popular jeans, and it does like this is another thing about consumerism that they're pointing out in this movie. Like these people want these jeans so much that they when the doors finally unlock from this lockdown, they push Libby over and then they stomp on her and kill her. They kill her by
Yes,
like
fucking killer. Yeah.
yeah, they stomp on her going in to get these jeans, which then proceed to like murder how many? They don't even show it. They just it.
Murdered everybody.
Yeah, they murdered like every customer that had rushed in and killed Libby, and you go, holy, because that's one of those things that was like kind of like not shocking to me, but like this movie's got that comedic tone, and then just like that
Yeah.
the girl dying and the explanation of it that is super dark, right? But this ending is just like dark as fuck because you're like, oh no, these jeans don't give a fuck. Like you don't get to throw the company out. You don't get to. I mean, if that tape that they have with the SD card, right? Maybe that gets out at some point because I think Libby still has it when she dies, but like in her,
Yeah.
it's in her hand, I think, right?
Yeah, because what's her name gave it to her
Yeah,
before
Shruddy.
because
Yeah,
Craig killed her because he's a fucking dick.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was like sacrificing them to the because he thinks that if these the story comes out, he's not going to get his job, right? His like his
yeah.
promotion. So, um, yeah, and
Well, I love the closing scene because it's like after they murder everybody, it's like there's blood splatter all over the place, and
yeah,
on the door there's blood all over the door, and it says Monday Madness.
yeah, yeah, because that's like the sale,
Yeah,
like the season, like or launch they're doing
yeah.
is like, and you're like, yep, that was madness, and man,
This the way they killed Libby and everything. The That's a great way of like the movie showcasing like how terrible like Black Friday and shit like that
oh yeah,
is. Like the whole movie is like just a great like social commentary
yeah,
on these crazy holiday sales and shit like that.
yeah. Oh, it
It's just
just consumerism
Consumerism.
in general, like, and how it's gotten so over the top, and how everything is like people are less important than like things, right? That's a big thing with this whole movie, is like how it it's funny because I'm in a Discord with some people from Europe, and like I think one of them's from Romania, and he goes, this just happened today. He goes, in America, you could get 40 chicken nuggets for $10. Like the thought process doesn't make any sense to him. And it's like, yeah, because it's like everything that this movie points out is how these companies take advantage of people. Like how people are just like, you said it, you pointed out perfectly. They're just as disposable as mannequins because it gets them profit and makes everything. And that's the whole thing. And that's what this movie is saying. It's like, it's what consumerism does, and how people are less important than profit and having things, and how people both the companies making them and the people buying them don't give a fuck because they're getting what they want. The people are getting the items and the companies are getting the money, right? Mm. And that was just you don't think of the movie with the Killer Pants could have that kind of much of a message, but man, they nailed that with this movie for sure. So yeah, dude, I this is why I like doing this podcast, is talking about the random crazy shit that like is out there that you're like not everyone's gonna watch, right? I watch way too many YouTube videos talking about like obscure horror movies and all this stuff, and this is the kind of stuff that I really approve, like that makes me happy. I think Shudder is something that like once I think more people need to get it that are horror fans, but this is another movie, man. We did this movie. We did A Good Woman Is Hard to Find a couple months ago, and that movie was just, if you haven't seen that one's fucking intense as shit, man. That movie had me anxious for like an hour and 40 minutes. Like I was like anxiety for the entire like hour, 42 hours, whatever it was. And stuff like that was just like, they're putting out these high quality little movies and giving them a platform, and I just really appreciate it. So, well, dude, I don't know much else I have to say about this. Is there anything else you want to talk about with this?
I think we pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, dude, I thought it was great, and I appreciate you coming in and filling in with Josh hurting himself. So, thanks again, Kyle. Yeah. I'm glad we got to talk something that's gonna get released after the whole Texas Chainsaw 2 massacre debacle.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to figure out a date to like us to redo that.
Yeah, dude.
I know Isaiah wants to redo it.
Yeah, dude. I'm down for sure. And I'll watch that silly movie yet again because I love it so much. So
I love that funny movie.
Yeah, that movie's so goofy. It's so funny because I watched both of those movies for the first time last year. Like I said, Texas Chainsaw 1 and 2. And to me, 2 is a better experience for me, like as a movie now. But I understand why Texas Chainsaw, the original, was so, impactful. Yeah. So, well, Kyle, thanks again, man. Let everyone know where they could find you.
Well, yeah. You want to follow me on Twitter? It's Kyle S. Prescott, or follow our podcast, Trick or Treaters podcast, at Trick or Treat Pod.
And okay, I didn't. Kyle, you froze there for a second. I want to make sure you were still there. Kyle on his internet that terrifies me.
Man.
No. Okay, cool. Yeah. So follow Kyle. Follow the podcast. The Trick or Treaters are great, and I do appreciate you guys. I listen to bits and pieces of things when I can, and I always enjoy when you guys get to check out one of your episodes. So, yeah, I'm Rod_Johnston, as if you guys don't know, and you could follow us at go to our website, murdermoose.com, and everything's there. So, thanks, Kyle. We'll do something again soon, and I appreciate you. And we'll see you guys next time. So, see you later, everyone. Bye.